Do you think it's hard to make these from scratch, homemade biscuits? It really isn't. Let me show you how. Biscuits 101. Kim Townsel here. Welcome back to my channel. It's free to like, subscribe, leave a comment, share this video if appropriate. And I hope you do, because people think that biscuits are some big magic to biscuits, and there's really only like 3 things you need to know. 1 is about how to cut in shortening. 2 is about how to knead the dough. And 3 is about how to cut them out with a biscuit cutter so that you don't mash them down. You want to let them grow. 3 tips, let me show you how. I prefer a golden brown biscuit that has a split around the middle so that it pops open, and flakier type biscuits. It's just a basic biscuit recipe with 2 cups of self-rising flour, 4 tablespoons of shortening or 1/8 of a cup, and 3/4 cup of buttermilk or 3/4 cup of milk. So the instructions here look really, really simple. I'm going to walk you through that. There's just a few mistakes that people make sometimes, and it causes their biscuits not to look quite right. Here's the Martha White original biscuit recipe. Same thing, 2 cups of self-rising flour, 1/4 cup of shortening, and 3/4 cup of milk. It's just basic. It gives you a little more details in the instructions. And here's a picture of what the perfect biscuit looks like to me. It has a slightly bumpy top. It has a split around the middle where you can just like pop it open like a cut hamburger bun. And then on the inside, it's going to be flaky, not wadded up, and not have a cake-like texture. Let's get started. This should be what you need to make homemade biscuits. You'll need, of course, an oven, a bowl, a pastry blender, or if you're really adept, you can use your hands or fork or a couple of knives. The ingredients you'll need are shortening, self-rising flour, and milk. You'll need a 1/4 cup measuring cup, a 1 cup measuring cup, or you can use the smaller one repeatedly. You'll need something to mix the dough with, something to scrape the dough out with, something to cut the dough with, and I'm using a donut cutter without the center part in it. A liquid measuring cup, and either a cutting board, or a pastry cloth to roll out the dough and cut the biscuits out on. You'll need oven mitts to get the hot pan out of the oven. If you like, you can use a sifter to sift the flour before you put it in the bowl. If you want to, you can use baking soda and buttermilk instead of regular milk, which is what I'm going to do because they had the buttermilk on sale for 50 cents. It was a lot cheaper, so I'm just going to make it with the buttermilk. But you can make it with the buttermilk and not put the soda in there if you like. I'm pulling back my hair and wearing a cap to be clean. Since I'm going to be kneading the dough with my hands, I have cleaned under my fingernails, and I'm going to scrub my hands for 20 seconds. Another option is to wear kitchen gloves. I frequently don't show you these steps on cooking shows. Safety and sanitation is key. Preheat the oven to 450 degrees. I'm going to scoop out the flour, put it in my measuring cup. If I took the measuring cup and scooped it down the flour, it's going to pack it in there, which is not what we want. If you want to do it like this, most people say you can avoid sifting it, which is probably the case. I'm going to level it off. And I'm just going to be on the safe side, sift mine. Since I am adding the 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda to mine today, I'm going to sift that in here. You can level it off like this. This doesn't have any lumps in it. I'm not making a cake, so this really isn't necessary. If you don't want to sift it and you are adding the soda, you can just stir the soda in to distribute it in the flour. Don't ever wash this or it'll rust. Just wipe it out with a dry cloth. To measure the shortening, we're going to scoop it in here like this. And mash it down. Now level it off and probably use a little bit of this to grease my cookie sheet, which I forgot to tell you that we were going to use. Decide what kind of bottoms you want your biscuits to have. That's going to make a choice in the pan that you choose. I want softer bottoms, so I'm going to choose a shiny pan, and I want the heat to come up around the side, so I'm choosing a flat pan. If you want to have softer sides, you can choose a pan that has sides, like a cake pan. If you choose one with a darker finish, you're going to have a crunchier bottom. A lighter finish or a shiny finish is going to give you a softer bottom. But the choice of the pan and the amount of grease that you use does make a difference. Easy way to grease a pan is to take a napkin or a paper towel, dip it in there a little bit, get a little bit of grease on there, an X, or the surface area that you think you're going to put your food on. You don't have to grease it all the way to the edge if you're not going to put food all the way to the edge. I'm only going to make about 10 to 12 biscuits, so that's going to be fine. One of the key things to making biscuits that have flakes is to cut in the shortening into the dry ingredients. In this case, we're using shortening, and the dry ingredients is flour, and I've added a little bit of baking soda to mine. You don't have to do that. So a lot of people get tired of doing this step, and they're going to stop when they think it looks like that, and then they wonder why their biscuits are more like cake than flaky biscuits. What we're trying to do is to get shortening into tiny little balls in here. You get all those little tiny balls coated with flour. Then when we do the next step, the kneading and the folding of the dough, those tiny little flour coated balls of shortening, we're going to flatten out, and in the oven we're going to bake into flakes. So it takes a little while, but see how you still got big chunks in there? Many directions will tell you to keep doing this until it looks like cornmeal. Well, if you don't know what cornmeal is, that's not a clue. Let me move this stuff out of the way. So I'm just going to tell you to do it. You need to do it a couple minutes. There needs to be no big wads of anything in there. Everything needs to be really small. It needs to be even. And honestly, you can feel it when it starts changing consistency. It starts giving a little bit of resistance. You get all that from the sides mixed in there. They make all this look so easy on their other cooking shows, don't they? I'm going to be honest. If you have any that sticks to your pastry blender like I do here, just use your rubber scraper or your knife or your spoon. Or if you have clean hands and don't mind getting them dirty at this point, knock all that off and keep going. You really want to keep going until every single bit of that flour looks like it is married to some shortening. You start start feeling a little bit of resistance in there because all the flour is married to shortening, and it doesn't want to be separated. Make sure you get all of the flour off the bottom and all the flour off the sides. So now I think we're ready to add our milk. If you use buttermilk, you want to shake it out before you pour it in there, which I did. You want to find your mark. So in my case, the recipe calls for at least 3/4, but buttermilk, it might be a little bit more. Put the cup down, get down on eye level, and you're going to very carefully pour it in. And I'm going to go ahead and put just 3/4, and if I need to put a little bit more, I can pour it from the carton. Now this next step is very important. We do not want to overdevelop the gluten in the biscuit. So at this point, all we're going to do is pour the buttermilk in, or the milk in, and we're going to very gently combine our liquids and our dry. We're not going to beat it. We're not going to use an electric mixer. We don't want to disturb that wonderful marriage of little balls of fat coated with the flour. And I'm probably going to need a little bit more buttermilk. We'll see. I do want to get all the flour off the edges. We're not stirring it. We're just kind of scooping it and encouraging it to like all come together. If you stir it too much, like I said, it's going to develop that gluten in there, which you want when you're making pizza crust. But you don't want that on biscuits. I think I need just a touch of buttermilk right here. Don't want it too sticky. I do want everything to hold together. Yup, I probably needed that 7/8 of a cup, didn't I? Yep, I think so. It's pretty amazing how recipes are pretty correct, aren't they? Alright. So see how it's pulling away? That's what we want. So I think I can manipulate this and work with it. It's a little dry, so I'm going to be careful about adding flour to my rolling board. I can work with that. Okay, remember that flour that we had before? I'm going to take a little bit of that and sprinkle on my board. Not a lot, because my dough is a little dry. I'm going to put some on my hands. And here's the second trick about making biscuits. The first trick to make them have the little flakes was to get the flour with the fat. This thing to make them flaky is how you knead it, and if you do it in layers. This is a little dry. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to stick our fingers in it. You want to always use the palms of your hands to manipulate the dough. So I'm going to keep I've got a little bit of flour over here I'm putting my hands in, so I'm going to roll it down, the palms of my hands, and then I'm not using my fingers to stick in it because I don't want to stir up all those little balls of fat, but I'm going to fold it over. So I'm making layer If it's sticking, I'll put a little bit more flour there. Every time you fold it over, you're encouraging it to make a layer. And when you put a little bit of flour on your hands and fold it over like that, then that helps to separate those layers. So folding it over like that. Okay, so I'm pretty good on that because it's starting to feel a little resistant. And some people say that it doesn't matter if you have a crack on top of your biscuits. Yeah, it does. So the biscuit's going to about double in size. I like my biscuits pretty thick, so I'm going to go with this. I'm going to take my biscuit cutter, dip it in some of that leftover flour. And here's the third trick. Don't take the biscuit cutter and twist it down like that. If you use a biscuit cutter that's sharp, you should be able to push it down in and pull it straight back up, and it should fall out to go onto your cookie sheet or your baking pan, whatever you're doing. Also, you don't want to just start here. You want to try to get as many biscuits as you can out of the first roll. Every single time that you have to re-knead it, you are running the risk of making the biscuits tougher. So I'm going to start right here. I'm going to press it down. You can scoot it once it's down like that, and it should come out like that. I'm going to dip my biscuit cutter, cut another one pretty close, press it straight down, shake it like that, and it'll come up. Very close over here to this edge, press it down, scooch it like that. I'm putting flour on my biscuit cutter, trying every time. So people say, oh, you are twisting it. I'm not twisting it. That one's stuck. He was fat. I'm not twisting it. What we want is we want to have that, you can already see that ridge coming in there on the biscuit. So when they bake up, it's going to want to pop open. So I'm going to pat this down a little bit more because that one was a little fat because I'm a greedy biscuit person. And let's see, dip. And get another one. So now I've got, very carefully pick it up. That's what they look like. I'm going to stick a little bit to the thing. Now I'm going to put a little more flour on my hands, and I'm going to roll this stuff up and redo it. Okay, again, do not put the fingers in there. Do not knead with the fingers. You always want to use the palm of the hands. Put a little more flour down here. And by folding it over, we're going to make sure we don't have those cracks on top. And give it another layer. So this one's going to be a little tougher. You can see the biscuit does wanting to pull back up. You see it pulling back up like that? Because the gluten is working. So I'm going to dip it in here. Cut. Wiggle. We don't want to do that. Because if we do that, it's going to take those strands on the side of the biscuit and tie them down. And then it won't be able to rise when it gets in there. So can we get one more? What do you think? I think we can get one more in that snake. This is how you make that last biscuit with no crease. So I've arranged my biscuits on my cookie sheet. I put the little snake biscuit in the center. And I'm going to put them on a medium rack. And I've already checked my racks before I preheated the oven. Set my timer for 10 minutes. Let's check these out. Aw, look at that. That's what they're supposed to look like. These smell marvelous. Not sticking to the pan. Look at that. That's what we want right there. See how it's got that little ridge? The little layers? This should pop right open. A little hot. This should pop right open with without having to stick a knife in it. That's what we want, those layers. Looks good. I can touch these, but if you want to use like a turner to put them on a plate, you can. Look at my little snake biscuit. And that is a nice plate of biscuits. Let's see if it does what I want it to. Right there. That's what we're looking for. Pries right open. See that flaky goodness? That's just begging for me to put some butter and jelly on, isn't it? Let's do that. Yum. I'm going to put it on the top one so it'll melt down. Now that's a biscuit. And that's a snake biscuit. I know you don't want to see me eat this, so if you don't watch. That is yum. That is so good. Yummy. Thanks for watching my video about Biscuits 101. Remember, it's free to like, subscribe, leave a comment, share this video if appropriate. And if you have time before you leave, watch one of these videos on YouTube because they're likely to stick around. Please give my video a thumbs up and leave a positive comment. Share it with someone you know that needs some super easy tips about biscuits because there shouldn't be a mystery, right? There shouldn't be a mystery. Thanks for watching. Bye. Remember, it's okay to eat carbs, simple carbs every now and then. It really is. Bye.